Welcome to the Nicholas 11X12 technology. Today we're looking at the Dell UltraSharp U2312HM 23-inch IPS LED LCD monitor. A LED backlight is used. Alright, here's the box. Again, this is the Dell U2312HM monitor, and as the number 23 already tells us, it's the 23-inch version. The box is kept very simple. No marketing at all, just the model name. That's very modest of Dell. Now let's skip the unboxing process and get right to the content. There you go, this is what you get. Let's start with the cables. Here's an analog cable, so VGA. Then Dell also includes a DVI cable, and not many manufacturers actually include these cables these days, but it's very nice of Dell to do so, therefore you don't need to buy that one. Of course, there's also an USB cable for the ports on the monitor. Here's a nice thick power cord and the Dell product information guide, as well as a CD with drivers and the documentation. And this bag right here is the monitor stand. As you can see, it's quite big and looks very strong indeed. It's also quite heavy, and that's good. And now to the screen itself. Oh, and inside there also are some instructions on how to connect cables to the monitor and how to tilt and so on. There we go, here's the screen. I'll go ahead and will remove the protection here. Alright, that's how the screen alone looks like. For my taste, it looks very nice, even on the back, and it's a lot heavier than most monitors I've tested so far. But let's move on to the specifications first. The Dell UltraSharp U2312HM is a LCD monitor with a LED backlight. This is a 23-inch screen, and that are 58 centimeters. The screen has an aspect ratio of 16:9. An IPS panel is used, and the resolution of this monitor would be 1920 by 1080 at 60 Hz. It has a brightness level of 300 candela per square meter. The dynamic contrast ratio would be 2 million by 1. The monitor has a typical response time of 8 milliseconds, and the viewing angles are 178 degrees horizontal as well as 178 degrees vertical. The DVI, VGA, and DisplayPort signal inputs are present, and there also is a single USB 2.0 upstream and 4 downstream ports. The typical power consumption, according to Dell, are 30 watts and less than 0.5 watts in standby mode. Now I'll go ahead and will show you how easy it is to set up this monitor. You don't need to assemble the stand, just take it out of the box and that's it. Then just grab the screen and let it snap into place like that. It's that easy. Oh, and you can wall mount the screen, since there are VESA mounts on the back. This monitor comes with a black, non-glossy, hard plastic bezel, which I like very much. The screen itself is also matte, which I prefer, to be honest. Down here is a nice silver Dell logo, and right there are the operating buttons, physical ones. And it's very easy to adjust the monitor, since you have a range of tilt, swivel, pivot, and height options. Obviously, this isn't the thinnest monitor, but keep in mind, it's not meant to look thin or so. This monitor is aimed towards professionals that are looking for such ergonomic features at such price point. I can tell you, the construction doesn't feel cheap at all, it's very durable actually. And right here on the left side are 2 USB 2.0 ports. This can come in handy to some people, but I personally won't use them. But now I'd like to show you how well you can adjust the screen with the ergonomic features. You can adjust the height, you can tilt, you can swivel, and you can pivot. So overall, Dell offers very professional ergonomic features here. Let's move on to the connections. Right here is the power connection. The DC power connector for the Dell soundbar, which is not included. One DisplayPort input. One DVI input. One VGA input. and last but not least, the USB 2.0 upstream port, which powers up these two USB ports here and the two on the left side of the screen, which I've shown you before already. But let's finally connect the monitor to my PC and test it out. I'll start with a very simple response time test on the Windows desktop by dragging this window across the screen very fast. Of course, you see, this isn't the fastest monitor, but for 8 milliseconds, it really isn't that slow. But let's get a little more professional and let's also run pics per an to see if there's any ghosting visible. I personally can see some ghosting, but it isn't that bad, and therefore I can say gaming shouldn't be a problem with this monitor. Now let's do some more testing. Right here I'm testing the black level. There are 20 gray squares on a black background. On an ideal monitor, all of them should be distinguishable, even the very dark first row of squares. Unfortunately, I can't distinguish the first square from the black background, but square number 2 is distinguishable. So still, that's very good. Next, I'll test the contrast. This image shows scales of linearly increasing RGB values. On a good monitor, you should see roughly equal steps in brightness over the full range from 1 to 32 and in all colors. Bar 1 should be visible. A bad monitor will not show the leftmost few rectangles and will not show a difference between the rightmost few, or shows a relatively large jump between numbers 31 and 32. This Dell monitor does really well here and I can't complain. The leftmost bars are visible as well as the rightmost ones with differences. This image here can be used to see if there's any banding to see on gradient images. The grayscale gradients should be displayed smoothly without any bands, lines, or colors showing up. There also shouldn't be too much noise in the darker parts. And as you can see, there's pretty much no banding going on. That's good. Next, I'll test the white saturation. Here are 12 light gray checkerboard patterns on a completely white background. Each of them should be distinguishable from the background. All checkerboard patterns are distinguishable, except the last one. This of course is depending on the contrast and gamma settings, but I personally can't see the last one. However, if you change the gamma setting to PC instead of Mac, it gets distinguishable. But I really prefer the gamma setting to be at Mac, because when set at PC, the images just seem too dark for me. But let's finally take a look at a pitch black background to see if there's any backlight bleeding on the screen. And luckily there's absolutely no backlight bleeding going on, but this doesn't mean your monitor will also have none. This can differ from screen to screen. Please keep in mind the red marked area is just a reflection and has nothing to do with the monitor. Now we'll see if there's a yellow tint going on somewhere, and I like testing that with a light gray background. And I have to say, there's no tint noticeable to me. I also see no major luminance issues on this white background here, for example, and that's great. Alright, maybe I should also show you the OSD menu. As you can see, you navigate with physical buttons, which I really prefer over touch-sensitive ones. And the OSD menu itself is very simple to use. No complications whatsoever, and you can customize a lot. For those of you that prefer simple presets, you can actually choose from different preset modes, such as standard, multimedia, movie, game, text, or you can change the color temperature or set up custom RGB values. So you get a good amount of options in here. But let's get back to the topic, response time. Here in this game, I also don't notice any ghosting. This of course is no 120Hz or 1 millisecond monitor, and for gaming it will do very well. I don't notice any input lag, and that's very good. This means you can use this monitor for everything. Professional content creation, where color reproduction really matters, and gaming as well. But what about the viewing angles? Since this monitor uses an IPS panel, you should have great viewing angles, and I can really confirm that. The goal is The image color shouldn't change or get darker, and I have to say the viewing angles are great. Now I'll show you some colors, the intensity, brightness, contrast and the power consumption. So the Dell UltraSharp U2312HM is a very good monitor for the price. I really like the way it looks like, so the aesthetics, even if it may not appeal to everyone, but it does to me with this robust construction behind it and the great ergonomic features. You can tilt, swivel, pivot and height adjust this monitor very easily. The color accuracy is excellent, and you can pretty much say it's calibrated right out of the box. The color reproduction all over the screen is also very good, and there is no yellow tint visible. The colors are very beautiful and also not too intense, they seem natural. As for the viewing angles, it doesn't matter if you stare at the monitor from the left side, the right side, from the bottom or from the top, the colors don't change or get darker. It's also very nice that Dell allows you to choose from two different gamma settings, one labeled PC and the other one Mac. The PC preset has darker blacks, while the Mac preset isn't as dark. This of course is a thing of preference, but I personally prefer the Mac gamma setting because PC just seems too dark for me. With this monitor you have accurate color reproduction and a still quite fast response time of 8 milliseconds for gaming. I didn't notice any ghosting while gaming, and for my needs, the screen is fast enough. If you're looking to mount your screen onto the wall, this definitely works very well with this monitor since it supports the VESA mount. The build quality is also amazing for the price. So long story short, get this monitor if you're looking for a cheaper IPS monitor that offers great color accuracy and great ergonomic features. This monitor definitely passed my tests, and I can honestly say it's very good for content creation as well as for gaming. Pros are great price-performance ratio, great ergonomic design, great color accuracy, then I really like the low power consumption and the very simple OSD menu. I have absolutely nothing to say for the cons, and so I give this monitor a 10 out of 10 and would definitely recommend it. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and visit Nicholas11x12techx.com to see videos there earlier than on YouTube.